Today we're going to decorate the house for fall. I would say about 97% of our home is decorated with thrifted finds, and the majority of that is vintage. And I wanted to show that your home doesn't have to look like a cluttered thrift store or grandma's house when you decorate with secondhand and vintage items. This is a small area in our kitchen that I like to switch out with the seasons. I just showed you what it looked like before and what I'm switching out. I like to bring in a little bit more moody colors. I switched out that painting on the top shelf for this blue, moodier painting, and switched out my lemons from the summer to pears. I added a little pop of red in there with the fake plants on the top and brought in some warmer toned wood in my cutting boards. I switched out my dried sweet peas for some dried eucalyptus, which I love. And here's what this little area looked like when I was done. This area is 100% thrift finds besides the little brass bar that my aprons are hanging on. And I would say on average, I spend about $2 per item when I buy things like this at the thrift store. Some are higher, some are lower, but I think an average of $2 is pretty close. This is just a little corner of our countertop where I added some thrifted cutting boards. These bowls are also thrifted. I love the ceramic one. It reminds me of a little French kitchen. I like to switch out my linens. I switch out this towel that I have on my oven, and I like to switch out the hand towels in the bathrooms. Here's another little area that I like to create a vignette with the change of the seasons. I decided to take everything off, and it was the perfect opportunity to do a little dust. I brought this vase back in and took out the eucalyptus stems and switched them out for these beautiful dried leaves. These are also thrifted. Finding dried stems or faux stems at the thrift store is a great way to save money because I know that these can get expensive pretty quick. These ones were a beautiful orange color. I added a couple of books and this metal leaf tray that I found at the thrift store. I think that these little pumpkins are from Target, so those are not thrifted, but everything else here is thrifted. The table is a Facebook Marketplace find that I painted. This is the next area that I focused on. I don't like a lot on this TV console, so I tend to focus just on this right-hand side. As I was dusting this area and clearing it, I remembered that I had this beautiful wicker vase that I thrifted that I wanted to add to this area. So I took the stems out and put them in this wicker vase just to see how I would like it, and I loved it, but I needed to lift the stems up a little bit. So I went to my floral stash, and something I love picking up at the thrift store are those floral foam rounds or squares. They really come in handy for things like this. I just needed to add some extra height and also have something to stick the stems into so that they wouldn't be floppy in the vase because they didn't completely fill it out. And these are really inexpensive at the thrift store. You can see my decorating mess here on the table. I like to just set everything out so I see what I have that I can work with and pull items from the table as I move on to different spaces. I liked the plaster vase that I had here before, but this basket just brings in the texture and the warmth that I really love for fall. I just love how much more elevated and cozy this vase feels. Now back to this area. I played around with this whole area for a few minutes. I brought in some things that I knew I wanted, and sometimes decorating is just moving items, removing items, adding items, just playing around to see what works. And this wasn't feeling quite right. I thought that maybe switching out the marble tray for this wicker basket that I found at the thrift store would maybe help. But in the end, I ended up going back to the marble tray and kept it really simple with just a couple taper candles, this little amber glass votive, and I ended up bringing some greens back in this little brass pedestal bowl. I love how this turned out. It's simple. I found these taper candles at the thrift store for $1 each. They're 15-inch tapers, and they were brand new with the wrapper still on them from Lennox. For me, secondhand and vintage items set my home apart. These generally aren't things that you can go and just buy at Target or Home Goods that everyone else is buying. I find so much joy in creating spaces that are unique to us and our home. This is a look at the next area I moved on to. This is what it looked like before, just the couch, and we have this little side table and a couple of accent chairs here. I like to switch out the pillows, and I like to decorate this little table because we don't have a ton of areas that I can decorate. I brought in a bunch of brown toned books that I thought would be pretty for fall. I messed around with this area way too long, and in the end I ended up deciding that the lamp was the problem. So I removed the lamp and switched that out. I knew I wanted this little vase and to bring in those orange stems to this little corner. And I just did some books with these stone bookends. Those are the only thing here that were not thrifted, but I love how this turned out. I switched out some of the pillow covers. I brought in these brown lumbar pillows for the chairs. These are vintage Turkish rugs turned into pillow covers. And this pumpkin pillow was one more thing that I did not thrift. This is from TJ Maxx a few years ago, but I love the colors and the velvet pumpkins. This year I'll be doing things just a little bit different and adding in some spookiness for Halloween. So come back in October for some thrifted Halloween fun.